Well, I'm the executive director of Dario Christian Academy. It's a school that was started to share the gospel with kids in poverty, but it's grown to be a school that's about discipling young people. And we've been around 15 years now, which seems incredible. I can't believe it's been 15 years. But it works with kids in all levels, financially, but most of all, it's about forming them with a biblical worldview, knowing they were created by the Lord, making them really special, and then letting them know how they can be saved, and then how they can go and impact their world. Dario Christian Academy started due to something that God has just so much expertise in doing. He took what could have been, or what was, a really hard time for Nicaragua, a hurricane in 1998, and brought people to come over and visit and help. And in those trips, there were some people that had a vision to serve the Lord. I got to come on one of those trips and do some translating for doctors. And then they went back to the States and said, what can we do? First, they built a church, and then someone said, there's all these kids in this sector, they don't have a school. We should start a school. And so a couple of people, Rod and Karen Kruger, they said, let's do it. I really believe in servant leadership. The Lord doesn't call us to be bosses, right? But to be leaders, to inspire. And with knowing that God has formed us in a family, right? As a body of Christ, and one of us is not more important than the other. It's allowed all these members of the body that work with me to really form this great group. And so as a leader, I bring them alongside me. I say, hey, can you share with me? Can you give me some of your strengths? Can you give me ideas? Because I don't know it all. And so that's been primary. But also, as a believer in the Lord, I know everything is by Him and for Him. And so whenever we do anything, any event, it's always about God's glory. It's always about putting Christ at the center. I always tell people, if you walk around Dario Christian Academy for an hour and you could listen into every classroom, you would hear people talking about God at least 100 times, because they're talking about Him in this classroom, in this office. We're praying in our devotionals as administration. Our cooks are praying. Our librarian, Ashley, is constantly sharing the gospel with parents. Our counselor is counseling kids more with the Bible than with psychology and science. And so that makes the Dario Christian Academy a Christian school, not just something with a name that says Christian, but it's not at the heart of all that we do. I think in the next 3 years, we would like to really grow as far as some curriculum development, some strengthening of our teachers. There's a lot to grow in those areas. But I also would love to see a school that really opens up its wings to bring others in. There are a lot of other Christian schools in our sector, in the next town over, who are really struggling. And they don't have connections to materials that are in English, or to people that can come down and share some things that we do have at times. And so I would hope that these schools can come to us openly and say, hey, can you help us? And we would say, definitely. It's not a competition which school is better. It's about all of us fulfilling the mission of discipling the next generation for the Lord. There will be so many kids in our community knowing their value, knowing how to be empowered by the gospel. I dream of business leaders who are leading their businesses with Christ at the center. Kids that can stand up to be adults that have integrity, that speak truth. It's exciting when people get excited about serving others, or about coming beside this vision, because I think it's the Lord's vision. I really believe so. And so when people stay or come out of the States or can dream and say, how can we support? It helps all of us, my staff, myself, to say, okay, we can keep going. Through the tough days, through the tough nights, when you think, how do we do this? This is really hard. Then you say, I have something to look forward to. I have a bigger community outside of myself. There are people in other countries. There are people in other churches from different denominations that are saying, how can we come beside you? And that is huge.